Here we are then, ladies and gentlemen, the finale of our F123 Lancia career mode. Yes, we're back today, ready for round 16 of the season here from Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. And yeah, going into this one, I've got no idea as to what to expect. We've had a couple of decent races in the last couple of courses, 2 back-to-back sprint race wins, and Lando, Norris and I have been trading wins towards the end of this season as well. Bottas, however, he's been lacking some confidence in recent weeks. Hasn't won a race since the British Grand Prix, but still has a 5-point lead over his teammate as we head into this final weekend here. We are 11 points back from Valtteri, so we are going to need a big push to finish off the season there. However, just 9 points back behind Mercedes as well. Maybe, just maybe, we could get the better of them in the Constructors' Championship. But we want a World Championship at the end of this year. There are so many teams and drivers that it is still yet to be decided who is going to come out on top. McLaren, they're of course all eyes are both, not only going to be on me, but also on each other. Both Red Bulls could still move around. Hamilton, I think, has got the better of Charles Leclerc, and those Mercedes as well, tied on points as we head into the season finale on 100 points a pop. George Russell, yeah, you really must wonder for him. He had about 51 points after the opening 2 Grand Prix. What on earth happened to that for our fellow Brit? But yeah, one final sprint weekend as well. You've always got to have a season finale, don't you, at Interlagos? So hopefully we can finish this series on a high. Well, would it be a championship decider then here in Brazil if you didn't get some slippery conditions then moving into qualifying? Apparently this is meant to be the only wet session of the entire weekend. This is Sao Paulo, so I'm never truly convinced until we reach the checkered flag. But yeah, immediately then even more pressure being put on us all with this single qualifying session. I'm just going to try and go out there and put some laps on the board, try and build up some confidence in the car and not immediately be trying to push to 100. But yeah, both ourselves and McLaren bringing some upgrades to the cars this weekend. A bit of a Hail Mary to finish off the season and hopefully just have that little performance buff over one another. To make our way up into Veradura. Yeah, this track feels slippery. So it's on the downhill sections that it feels really loose and lively there as we get over the curbing through the final couple of proper corners and a big lock-up as we make our way into Junção. Charles Leclerc immediately running a 1:16.5. Are we going to be able to go anywhere near that then? This first lap's felt okay, but certainly a couple of little slip-ups here and there as the track is definitely evolving as we do a 15.5. Well, I'm staggered more drivers aren't out here trying to get more laps on the board. Bottas has already made his way back into the pit lane as Hamilton now will move his former teammate into position 6. Just trying to navigate our way through. Times don't seem to be improving much at all at the moment. We definitely got a good benchmark on the boards without me kind of realising it. So again, we make our way in towards these final few corners. A bit tidier that time round, and hopefully we'll be able to carry that speed all the way back up to the start-finish line there. Lando Norris alongside me on the front row early on with both Red Bulls locking out row 2. But another 1/10 of a second improvement here. This is all strong signs. That's not such a good sign there. Just nick the wall on the outside of turn 2. Yeah, you could only find so much. Well, a little over 3 minutes left on the clock then. We're going to head back out for our final runs here in Q1. Sorry, just in qualifying in general, of course, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, we're still top of the board by a few tenths over Lando Norris, but I am expecting times to improve from absolutely everyone. We've opted again to put a little bit of extra fuel in the car just in case we need to try and fuel save one lap and go for another one. But hopefully we're going to be able to get 3 more banker laps on the board here and continue trying to lower our fastest time so far, as now everyone else starting to make their way back out onto the circuit. So are we about to see the times continue to drop? Again, purple through the final, through the middle sector. You definitely notice there's a lot more grip on the first lap here, but still the time, we are improving, but it is marginally every single lap here as we're going to set a 15.458 now. So that again is 0.07 of a second faster than we did last time. Can we get closer and closer to the 14s? Or maybe McLaren trying to save mileage on the engine, ready for a very, very power-sensitive weekend. Of course, we took a load of grid penalties last time out, so we know we can pretty much afford to run this thing to the absolute limits here. Navigating our way through the middle sector. Once again, we are going to get one more lap on the board. But it's still going to be fairly tight for time. There is a big moment as we have a quarter of a second up. Are we going to be able to fire it out of the final turn and start ourselves a final lap here as we get a lot of wheel spin, but it is still going to be mighty close. We know there is time to find still in this car as we start our final lap of qualifying up towards the line. We are going to improve again, but surely we're going to see others drop their times as well as everyone else now on their final qualifying laps here, on their last-ditch attempts to try and move themselves up the order. We'll know pretty quickly as to whether the top runners are looking competitive here, but will we see any surprises a little bit further down as Red Bull, Verstappen, I think, has improved, Tsunoda has improved, so everyone is able to find some time here, but will we see those McLaren cars? Lando Norris already in P2, so he's looking pretty safe at the moment. Lewis Hamilton even will now split those Red Bulls as well, but I think Valtteri Bottas making his way out of the final couple of corners. Are we going to see the Flying Finn put himself in a better position? Yes, we are. It is P2 for Valtteri Bottas at the moment. We have opted for a very, very high downforce setup here, though, to try and grant myself some track position, but as we make our way through the final corners, are we going to improve? It's already pole position here, but we are another 2/10 up as we make our way out of the final corner here, up towards the start-finish line. What is the time going to be? It is pole position, and it's a 1:15.244.
Fantastic, you've got pole position.
Well, there we go, and then pole position by 0.8 of a second over Valtteri Bottas. But when you think about how many extra laps we did, yeah, I'm happy with it, of course. 3 pole positions to end out the year. But I'm worried that the AI have really optimized their setups for the race pace then. Obviously, we'll find out as we move into the sprint race there. But even if we were to win both the sprint and the Grand Prix, there is no guarantee we are still going to beat Bottas to this championship.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Firestarter lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, Gasly, Russell, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Perez, Albon, Hulkenberg, Fittipaldi, Teo Pourchaire, Liam Lawson, Iwasa and Zhou Guanyu. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Right, well, it all comes down to this then, doesn't it? You're still in with a shot at the Drivers' Championship, the biggest prize in this sport. Now get out there on track and come back with that trophy.
Well, we've still got an entire Grand Prix to do as well tomorrow, Mark, but I love the enthusiasm. One final sprint weekend of this season and a 12-lap sprint to kick us off here. We've got Valtteri Bottas alongside me, World Championship leader. Lando Norris right behind me, P2 in the Drivers' World Championship. It cannot be wrapped up in this sprint race. All 3 of us are going to go into the GP tomorrow with a shot at the crown, but it is 5 red lights. There's a long hold there and it's lights out and away we go, as immediately looks like both Norris and myself have got a better start than Valtteri down in towards turn 1. Norris trying to make moves happen there down the inside at that first corner. Whoa, a big snap of oversteer on the exit of the turn there is, I think, yeah, Valtteri has hung on to P3, so he's going to immediately be trying to apply pressure to me as we make our way down the Esquido de Largo there, and Bottas trying to look down the inside. McLaren trying to get the elbows out, but we will not be overrun off the start of this Grand Prix there. We will move back around the outside of the Flying Finn and hang on to our P2 position here, but yeah, a very, very aggressive start by Lando Norris. I think a statement of intent is probably the best way we can try and word that one, as yellow flags out temporarily a little bit further back. But yeah, let's take a look at that start from Norris's POV. He just absolutely sailed it into T1. Well, riding on board then with Lando Norris, ready for the start. We're going to be keeping our eyes up on those 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go there. You can see Bottas just in the second phase, unable to really go anywhere there, and Lando Norris using a little bit of battery, actually uses the battery in towards the apex of turn 1 there to try and give himself a little bit of a boost. Pinches me on the inside curbing through turn 2, but Lando Norris, up into the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix sprint race almost immediately there. You can see as everyone fans out further behind. Bottas desperate to try and make the move happen on myself, but we will hang on around the outside. But it is clear track space for Lando Norris as he makes his way up into Sector 2. Well, we cannot let Lando Norris leave our sights early on here. He always seems to struggle a bit more in qualifying. That is definitely where Valtteri and I seem to be at our best at the moment. But you get into a race and Lando Norris seems to find some extra pace in that car.
Let's use that overtake button a bit more.
Valtteri, though, struggling just a little bit to keep up with the top 2 here early on, as we have definitely not got as much straight line speed. Lando Norris.
We can use DRS when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Norris has got me out of the DRS window instantly here, so maybe Bottas now going to try and apply some pressure as we make our way down into the Esquido de Largo. See, he's gaining. But we had to use a load of battery there to keep him at arm's length. We need to get back in the range.
Okay, information on Bottas. They seem to have an issue.
Ooh, okay. Valtteri Bottas then with problems as well early on in this sprint race. That might explain his lack of pace off the start. Is that a potential warning of things to come for the McLaren man, or will he drop down the order in this sprint? Instantly Max Verstappen applying the pressure. You know, he won't wait for a second opportunity.
Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 7.6 seconds.
Oh, Bottas desperately trying to get the elbows out. These are critical points in the final sprint race of the season there, but I feel like Verstappen, it's inevitable that he's going to be able to make his way past a wounded McLaren car, which he will, down in towards turn 4. And even worse for Bottas, he's got Leclerc and Hamilton lining up behind. Oh, yep, there you go. Charles Leclerc making his way past the McLaren as well, pretty much before they've got into the DRS window. And I mean, what does Lewis Hamilton do? He was such good friends with Valtteri for all their years. I think they've still got a very good relationship. Does he just let him hang on to it? No. Hamilton immediately passed him. He senses blood in the water, and Ferrari now up to 4th and 5th. This is heartbreak for Bottas. He'll still probably be leading the championship unless Norris, wins this thing and Bottas finishes outside the points. But he'll be starting the race from further down the order. And as we cross over half distance then in this Grand Prix, Valtteri Bottas now is officially down to 8th place in this GP. But there are potentially about to be even more problems for McLaren. Lando Norris under increasing pressure from myself, but we are really struggling. Whoa! To get close enough to him as Norris, a very, very stout defence there down in towards turn 1, trying to bang wheels with me through that first corner. Are we going to be able to get a run down the Esquido de Largo? Absolutely not this time. He's got yellow zank now. It is an Alpine breaking down. Oh no. Anyway, we've still got to try and get away around this McLaren. So the other thing I'm worried about at the moment is if we get past Bottas up this front straight, is he just going to be able to try and sail back past me down in towards turn 4 this time round? Maybe he got a bit of a warning from his team there that he was too aggressive last time, because we will shoot around the outside of him, yellow flags out temporarily. So he won't be able to make a move just yet, but I mean, yeah, look at that. That McLaren car so quick out of turn 3. But, yeah, Lando Norris will hang on to the lead. Come on then, Lando. Let's try and have a look down the inside. I've got no confidence if you go down the inside of the AI there at turn 1, but we're going to be really cheeky and try and claim the DRS still. A Fernando Alonso-esque tactic there on Lando Norris. But I mean, even with the DRS, he's absolutely flown back around my outside there. That McLaren is so quick in a straight line as he desperately tries to park it on the apex in towards the next corner here. Are we going to be able to have a look, though, as we make our way up the hill? We're just trying to make it awkward for him at the moment, as round the outside we'll go into Ferragura there. The back end gets really, really loose over the bumps on the outside, but with 3 laps to go, we're battling this like the World Championship depends on it. More yellows. We've got more yellows out. Who's now struggling in this GP? I believe that might be Lewis Hamilton in the second Ferrari car, so Bottas potentially now given a little bit of a lifeline here, and I think we'll be back up into 8th place then in this sprint race, as we've immediately got Lando Norris out of the DRS range. But yeah, lots of reliability problems here.
13.4 seconds.
And one of them for another Ferrari car. That makes me nervous. Oh no, 2 laps to go. Lando Norris gaining as we make our way down the Esquina del Lago, and again, oh, what is that? Lando Norris absolutely parks the bus on the apex, and I'm just so scared about the AI locking up and giving me damage here. I can't really afford to risk it when he is gaining that much speed down the straight, as we won't be able to try and hang it around the outside of Ferragura this time round. We've just got to try and hang close through these next few corners there. But you can see Lando so good at positioning his car. Oh no, that's not good positioning of my car though. And now suddenly Lando Norris, that's it, that's sprint race 1 for him. There's a little bit of a slip up there as we make our way down in towards that final sector. Are we going to be able to hang close enough to Max Verstappen? I think we've even lost the DRS to him, so an absolute heartbreak towards the end of the sprint race here. And suddenly Lando Norris will be grinning from ear to ear. Well, I would absolutely rather make those mistakes in the sprint race when there are less points up for grabs. I will take Lando gaining 2 points over me rather than 10 if this was the real GP. But are we going to be able to get back past Max Verstappen on the run up towards the finish line here? You can see how much we gain through this twisty section through Sector 2. Trying to use some battery then to get as close as we possibly can to the Dutchman. Plenty of curb through the final corner. It is going to be Lando Norris once again on top here on Sprint Race Saturday, but as we make our way out of the final corner, Verstappen, he's used all of his battery, but it is still going to be enough, and we come through for P3. Well, there we go then. Lando Norris taking the dub there. You'll have just heard Crofty saying means he is now top of the Drivers' World Championship. But, I mean, yeah, when you look at the fastest laps, pretty much us two, the only cars there into the 108s, and Valtteri Bottas, he is still looking racy. Championship-wise then, 8 points in it between your top 3 at the moment, so fastest lap bonus point might genuinely be the difference maker by the end of this weekend there. Constructors-wise, the gap's still 8 points as well to Mercedes. We have got our work cut out. We need to try and keep the mistakes to a minimum. Let's do this thing ready for the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and just 4 years later, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. We're racing today then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7-mile circuit and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out Sector 3. That gives us our best passing opportunity down into Turn 1. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Firestarter completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Sainz, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen, Bottas, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Perez, Albon, Liam Lawson, Théo Pourchaire, Fittipaldi, Ricciardo, Zhou, Iwasa, Gasly, Hamilton, and and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson.
And they can do it for sure, as long as they don't dwell too much on the position. At the end of the day, there's only one way to go racing, and that's to give it everything you've got. Either your best is good enough to stay in the hunt, or it's not. There's no point giving any less than 100%.
Right, mate, it's the final race of the season. There's nothing to lose here, so go out there and enjoy it.
Well, there is plenty to lose, Mark. He's really been off the ball this weekend. I had a quick look as well after the sprint race. We are obviously 8 points back behind Lando Norris. If we were to win this and take fastest lap bonus point and Lando came home P2, obviously we would be tied. And for those of you that don't know how a tiebreaker works in Formula 1, it then goes down to who has had the most wins of the season. I've obviously had 2. I would be up to 3 wins if we win this race. Lando Norris, 4. So we can't even afford to tie on points with the McLaren driver. He cannot finish second today in this GP. In terms of strategy, though, I'm not convinced the soft tyres are going to last particularly well. So we're actually going to start on the mediums and then potentially change it up later on. I'm a little bit worried about safety cars as well here, potentially intervening with how this race goes down. And it looks like I might be the only one on the medium tyre. 5 red lights. And it's going to be lights out and away we go. And apparently if you start on the inside, there is no grip. Unless your name is Carlos Sainz. They're trying to dive into the middle, in towards that first corner. The Red Bull driver there. I won't try and fight him too much, but he'll absolutely overfire it through turn 2. And Lando Norris may be hoping a former teammate can act as a bit of a wingman here. But unfortunately for us, Carlos Sainz clearly has got that plan in mind. It's down the outside. No, it's not. Carlos Sainz there locks up at the bottom of the hill. Oscar Piastri will immediately move up then into P2. Sainz hangs on. Leclerc will go through as well, though. And we are suddenly down to P5 then off the start of this Grand Prix. So not the ideal start for us in this GP. And it is all falling into place for Lando Norris right now early on this afternoon as once again yellow flags out thanks to all the concertina and up on lap 1. But yeah, just that little slip up towards the end of the sprint race yesterday really has knocked my confidence back on those soft compounded tyre. However, far more alarmingly than that, maybe that 1 point we lost out to Verstappen is going to be the difference maker come the end of this season. We've had more second places than Lando Norris, and we've said all year long how our brutal consistency has been the key to some really big results and ultimately leaving us in the championship hunt. But maybe now, right at the very end, it might cost us. Already then by the end of lap 3, just slowly trying to ease pace into the car early on this afternoon. But now, hopefully with the DRS, we might be able to have a look for a move on Charles Leclerc. Ferrari, not the quickest in a straight line this year. It is often been a battle between our 2 Italian teams.
Back by about 3/10 a lap. Well done.
Very, very late there on the brakes into turn 1. I thought I was going to overfire it in. As we start lap 4, we are back up then and into P4 of this GP. However, Lando Norris here at the front of the field, he's gone. As here comes Charles Leclerc, thinks about it, thinks better of it. You would hope Ferrari this weekend are going to be on our side. Hamilton wasn't in the sprint, but you think Ferrari would certainly be rooting for us. Well then, Carlos Sainz, let's see what you got in that Red Bull car. We couldn't quite get past his teammate yesterday. Both of us with the DRS on Oscar Piastri here. Neither of us going to get close enough to Oscar, though. Down at turn 1 and didn't really fancy being on the outside there. What is Sainz doing? Absolutely parking it on the apexes through these first couple of corners. And if ever you wanted to believe that he was helping Lando Norris out today, surely this evidence so far early on is enough as Sainz again locks up down in turn 4. This time around, though, we spot it early enough. We'll switch to the inside, and we are up to P3. There's certainly a lot of drivers then towards the front of the field that have had some affiliation with Lando Norris in this series up to now. Oscar Piastri, of course, another of Lando Norris's former teammates. Next up on the old hit list.
By 5/10 a lap.
It's all a Merc there. Whoa, Oscar. I mean, what is that? George Russell kind of did the same thing last weekend to us. He gives me the room, tries to turn back in and then just brakes on the apex and expects me to be able to predict that. We'll kind of go for a touring car style move back around the outside of Piastri. But now all eyes are in front and on that McLaren. No! No! It's over. It's over. The dream is gone. In an instant. And I was so worried that this was going to be the case. I cannot believe it. The final race of this entire career mode. And on just lap 8, it has gone up in smoke. When am I going to get luck on these games? How many engine failures do I keep having?
Well, it's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion. That's it then, they've taken the win here as we wrap up another fantastic Formula One season. Tell me, Ant, how do they manage to achieve this win?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Good result for Lando Norris, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I think for driver of the day, I'd probably pick Lando Norris. He lived up to every inch of his reputation today, and I think he'll be going home, quite rightly, a bit proud of himself.
And with that result, McLaren can no longer be touched at the top of the table. They've had their ups and downs this season, like all teams, but they've weathered the storm and they've come out on top. McLaren are world champions once again. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. Over 100 races inside F123, and that's how it ends up at the end of the final race here in Brazil. And you know what I hate most about that? Of course, the fact you don't even get a warning about it. It just happens in an instant. But Lando Norris then is your Formula One Drivers' World Champion there. McLaren have taken the crown back to Woking there, and yeah, that golden boy who's been with that team for so many years now is finally Britain's next Formula One Drivers' World Champion there. Bottas, those issues on Saturday really did make the difference in the end. He managed to fight his way back to P2, but it wasn't enough to beat out his teammate there. Carlos Sainz P3 ahead of Piastri and George Russell in the end, with Leclerc, Tsunoda, Verstappen, Magnussen and Pierre Gasly rounding out our top 10. Hulkenberg couldn't even score a point to finish out the year there. And from championship, you know, absolutely in the competition, to the only driver not to see the checkered flag. I cannot believe that is the way we are going to finish this series on F123. Taking a look at the Drivers' Championship, it doesn't even look close. 34 points back at the end of the season there. I mean, if there was another sprint weekend, we would mathematically still be with a shot, but there isn't. Plain and simple there. And I can't even go and restart the race or anything like that, because the game has already pre-decided that I'm having an engine failure this weekend as well there. Bottas P2 ahead of myself there. Sainz does beat out Verstappen in their return as teammates for the first time since 2015. Hamilton gets the better of his teammate Charles Leclerc, with Piastri beating Russell by just a single point as well. So all the drivers in the big three teams that moved got the better of their teammates, which is a rather impressive stat as well there. Tsunoda just got jumped by those two Mercs at the end of the year, with Pierre Gasly ahead of Kevin Magnussen. Ocon ahead of Alexander Albon with both of those Porsche cars in 15th and 16th place there. Hulkenberg with 2 points to his name ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, and then neither AlphaTauri or Liam Lawson able to score a point there. The same for Fernando Alonso, Logan Sargent, and Enzo Fittipaldi. Constructors-wise, yeah, McLaren 102 points clear at the end of the season there, and we never really got a look in as to whether we could beat Mercedes in the end. 5th place in the Constructors for Lancia come the end of the season. That is absolutely heartbreaking. But yeah, like I said a couple of weeks ago, actually, it's the first time I think ever we're actually finishing an F1 game career mode actually a few weeks out before the next game releases. But honestly, F1 23, it's been good fun. It's certainly been an improvement on F1 22, but the removal of some features have certainly meant that it hasn't quite been as fun as I was hoping it would be. And of course, that huge grind we did at the start of the year certainly did make things interesting as well there. But thank you all as always so much for the support as well. You know, you guys make this all possible, and I cannot thank you guys enough. Obviously, we've still got the rest of F1 Championship Edition and the F1 1999 career mode to go at the moment, so it's not that we're going to be disappearing for a month or anything like that. But yeah, to everyone that only watches the F1 23 content, thank you, and I hope I will see you all on F1 24.